The Boston Bruins have made a very interesting move ahead of their game tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. We're going to be breaking down what this move is and why this move was made at this exact point. We're going to be talking about that, as well as some players from the Bruins' record-breaking season. Nick Foligno and Taylor Hall have both spoken out about that season and what happened. You're not going to want to miss that. But before we get into all of this news, we know 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you haven't hit the sub button already, make sure to do so. If you're looking for all your Bruins news, you can hit the subscribe button. It's free, and also you can unsubscribe whenever you feel. But without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here of the video, which is the interesting move by the Boston Bruins. I wanted to break this down, discuss this ahead of the Buffalo Sabres game, because this is a game where the Bruins should have the liberty to do whatever they want. That is no surprise. The Buffalo Sabres have been one of the worst teams in the NHL this season, and having, I believe it at this point, is 12-game losing streak. The Bruins should in no way lose this game. However, I don't want to say never, because we've seen the Bruins this season as well, and they have not been great at times against some bad teams. But let's pull up our screenshot, what this move is and why it has happened. So I'll pull up the first one from the Bruins lines in morning skate, and as you can see, Charlie Coyle moved up to the second line on the right wing, along with Elias Lindholm and Marchand. We have a quote from Joe Sacco as well as to why this move was made and really what he wanted to see out of Charlie Coyle. But before we get into that, we know this move right now was made because the Buffalo Sabres suck. And that's being very generous. I think that the Bruins not being the best team in the NHL, the Sabres not being the best team in the NHL, and the Bruins having to struggle as of late, the Bruins are going to try stuff that they think should work in this game, where they really have the freedom and the ability to believe that they can win no matter what. And this is what Joe Sacco had to say on the topic. He said, "I just think it gives us a chance to see how three of our top players can play together again. I want to see Charlie there. It gives them an opportunity to maybe generate some more offense with those two guys as well." And looking at that line, of course, going back to it's a very interesting line. You know, it's something that we all know should work, but we've seen the Bruins this season not really have every potential move or everything they've tried to do work out very well. And under Joe Sacco, that's really been a big change. We've seen a lot of this stuff work. A lot of this stuff have some positive outcome of it, but under Jim Montgomery, a line like this really would not have worked. But Joe Sacco has the timing down right, looking at the Buffalo Sabres doing this move here, wanting to try it, but knowing that you can't really change what is working, and you can't really alter the chemistry from this team at the beginning. So I do think this move is a very good one for the time being, and really the way that it works out and the way it pans out right now for the Boston Bruins, it does seem to be something that Jim Montgomery tried to do, wouldn't work. Joe Sacco is trying to do it once again, but under him, I think that something like this certainly has the possibility of being a very sneaky good line. And moving on further as well, another one. Here's the reason that we're also looking at another move that has been interestingly made. Marc McLaughlin being taken out of this lineup. Someone who's been playing pretty well as of late. May not be on the score sheet every game or whatnot, but has really made an impact on the ice. And this is what Scott McLaughlin here had to say about that. Marc McLaughlin will require waivers again if he plays one more game in Boston. Don't know if that's why he draws out, but it could be a factor. I think he's been playing well, and he has been playing well. There's no doubt about that, but the Bruins want the freedom of being able to have players going up on waivers. If someone's playing well, you want to keep them there, but ultimately you also have to think about potentially losing that player if they do get sent down. Now, Marc McLaughlin is not really a name that we do see everywhere in the NHL. He's not a name that would likely be claimed without a doubt. However, there are many teams in the NHL, the Buffalo being one, that could be looking to add a player like Marc McLaughlin, who really has some NHL experience. Not a whole lot, but he's been very good in his few games, and maybe a different scenario, maybe giving him a full-time spot could be something they're looking for. So the Bruins are going to have to think about this, whether they want to send him down on without waivers, or play him another game and then risk losing him to waivers. There are multiple opportunities that the Bruins have here, but of course with the addition of Oliver Wahlstrom, who's there slotting in on the third line, it gives the Bruins just an extra bit of freedom to kind of work with what they want to, instead of having Tyler Johnson there, someone who ultimately was bought out by the Bruins. So let me know what you think about these pretty interesting moves and how you think this will work under Joe Sacco. And that's really a big part here, I think, is what will Joe Sacco make this line feel like, make this line look like, opposed to Jim Montgomery and their coaching style differences. And I do think that this is something I really am interested to see here tonight, especially since the Bruins should win this game. And I'm going to knock on wood. I'm knocking on my desk. I don't know if you heard that or not, but this should be a game the Bruins win handedly. But let's move on to our second topic here of the video. And a few former Bruins have spoken out about their record-breaking season and ultimately the playoff loss that came out of that. And I don't want to touch on that too much, bring back any horrible memories for Bruins fans, but this is something that we all really need to think about and look at this point right now where we are. And I'm going to pull up the record first. And of course, just to remind you, 65 wins, 12 losses, 5 overtime losses. What a season that was. What memories that was. Patrice Bergeron, the final seasons from some of these guys on the team. And the way this team played, ultimately the first round loss to the Florida Panthers was something that we all really hoped wouldn't happen, that ultimately did. And I don't want to touch on this too much, of course, because we know the memories coming back from this are not very good. But I did want to pull up what we have first here from Nick Foligno. He says, "Yeah, I'm so pissed. We talked about it because the other night when we played, we all got in the hallway after because there were so many of the guys that were on our team that had played on Boston. So it was like a huge reunion, and we all walked away like, God, we had something special there. It's just disappointing that you don't get it done." And Taylor Hall also chimed in on this and kept it pretty simple. He's like, "Yeah, we effed that up," and there's really no doubt that this team did. But I do like that we see guys like Nick Foligno, Taylor Hall really coming out about this. We haven't really seen ultimately a lot of people coming out, a lot of former Bruins talking about this, but that's why these guys are so respected in the NHL. Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, two veterans who still have a major impact on whatever their team. We see Nick Foligno now, the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks. Those two guys are leaders, and that's really a big part of why they found so much success in their career. Being able to talk about this, being able to acknowledge and care about the game, about the team, that it wasn't the result they wanted. They acknowledged that there was certainly some mistakes there and whatnot, and they really messed up. They're not saying that, that team was not good enough. They knew what the situation was. They knew how this team played out and everything like that, and ultimately, we see the results there. But I wonder if this is really going to spark any other players and really other former players on this team to come out and talk about this more. As you see there, Nick Foligno discussing that there were so many former Bruins in the hallway after that game that we just kind of talked about the memories, and it just goes to show how big of implications that not just the season there, but the result, the team, everybody, everything had on those players, and how that team was so tightly knit under Jim Montgomery, under Don Sweeney, and not so much Don Sweeney, but the team he had built there. It was certainly one that worked out well, and we see now where we are with the Bruins, and kind of flashing back to the whole situation, how things have played out over just the span of 3-4 years. There are major differences, but it really just goes to show once again how closely knit and how the Bruins community, can build and structure a team that cares about one another. And it really seems like, I'm not going to say it's the exact same thing, but this is what Joe Sacco has done so far this season with this team. We've seen the major difference that this team under Jim Montgomery had, how different it is now under Joe Sacco, and really how much this team seems to have gelled together again. I do hope that, this does continue. We do see Joe Sacco's team continue to improve, and we have seen that so far as well. Some very good games, especially this West Coast road trip, even though coming off a loss against the Edmonton Oilers. That was a very good game from this team, and I expect nothing else than this team to come out hot once again against the Buffalo Sabres. But let me know what you think about all of these quotes. It's definitely interesting to kind of flash back to this now, looking at where we are right now with this Bruins team back to where we were with that team. A lot of positive to come out of it once again, though, the fact that we're seeing players talk still about the Bruins, not just the team, very, very good to see. And hopefully we do get another story like that, but ultimately it's the one that we all want to see. But that's all I got in this video. What do you think about the move before, the interesting one that I was thinking about? Charlie Coyle. What do you think about him being on this first line and Joe Sacco's potential swivel of things on that first line? Let me know what you think in the comments below, but that's all I got. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.